I believe in always walking the dog. When I was 4, Mom and Dad got me a golden retriever. His fur was bright gold when the light surfaced his body, and his eyes were sapphire blue. At first, I really didn't like him. I detested his destructive attitude. He would bite my shirt and chew up my Spider-Man action figures. How I detested the small beast. However, even beasts deserve a name. So it came to be that I named him Riley. The name suited his energetic ways and young personality. Dad would always take me and Riley on a walk every day at exactly 5 o'clock. Riley would always lead. He was uncontrollable, barking at the people on their bikes and running off everywhere, chasing leaves. After a month of trying, he finally gave in to returning the ball to me when I threw it. Mom and Dad always worked, and I was always left home with Riley and the babysitter. And we learned to get along. Years passed, and Riley grew and grew. His head was bigger, and his paws were enormous. We grew together, and I learned to admire his loyalty and perseverance. He also learned to take proper walks like the dogs I saw at the park. Riley and I became best friends, since he was my only friend anyway. Playing ball and taking long walks around the park was all we ever did. I thought of him as being my guardian. I believed no one could ever hurt me when I was around Riley. Time went by, and days turned into months, and those months turned into years. Over time, I began to grow apart from Riley. Friends in school were making Riley a small part of my life. Then he was just the dog. He was one of those items that had to be in a house, but had no purpose of being in the house. When I was 13, Riley had run out to the middle of 4th Street and got hit by a gray Impala. We rushed him to the vet and hoped for the best. I didn't understand why I felt so horrible about Riley. In a way, I felt responsible for what had happened. If only I had walked him every once in a while, maybe he wouldn't have been so eager to go outside and taste freedom. Riley had broken his front right paw. That day, I thought I was going to lose him. All those memories of me playing with the small beast came rushing back to my brain. They had returned from being lost in the abyss of my mind. He got better, but he was never the same. His paw was never the same. When he walked with a limp, like an old man walks with a cane. I reflected on what had happened and began to walk Riley every day since he got better. I saw that he wasn't the same. He would stay behind me, and I had to pull him instead of him dragging me behind. His pupils were dark, and I could see the sadness in his eyes. He had grown old and tired. They say that a dog only lives 12 to 15 years. My old friend was 11 and slipping away from me. Things weren't the same as before. In the end, I had taken Riley for granted, and I didn't realize it until I almost lost him. I believe in always putting attention to everything that has a meaning in one's life. Someone once told me, if you stop feeding the stray cat that comes to your backyard every day to keep you company, he will eventually leave. After Riley's accident, I began to think of all the things that I had abandoned and were now gone. All the Spider-Man toys, the old chessboards, dragon tails, and some relatives. I learned to appreciate the things that I had, like my mother's cooking and an education. I learned to give thanks that I don't live in a country of poverty, and I learned to even admire the yellow number 2 pencil that I use every day to complete homework. Most of all, I was thankful that I had a mom and a dad. Riley taught me not to let all those great things in my life slip away from me. One should always walk the dog that sits outside the porch every once in a while. This I believe.